What would you say you do here?
It's the Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast. A podcast dedicated to up-and-coming bands, labels, artists, and more. Plug in and join your host, Brad Nunnery, as he dives deep into what the future of music has to hold and discover something new along the way. What else do you have to do?
What's up, guys? This is Mike Ladon from Chaser, and you're listening to Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast.
That's the latest music video from our good friends in Chaser. It's called Stay Gold. You can find that song off their latest album, Small Victories. Many thanks to Mike Ladon for recording that promo for us. Really do appreciate it, man. Now, Chaser, they are a really killer skate punk band based out of Southern California, but don't take my word for it. You can find out for yourself on any social media platform at Chaser Punk. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast, Season 3, Episode 11, presented by my really good friend Jeff Small over at 1603 Designs. My guests tonight are Kevin and Chris. They are from the band Ode to Humanity, based out of Massachusetts. The really killer skate punk / riffy punk rock band who just released a brand new record earlier this year. It's called Grounded Dust. It's one of my favorite records this year so far. Love what these guys are doing. And we're going to talk about the album, the making of the album, working with Trevor Reilly from A Wilhelm Scream. I'm going to break down some of the songs, including one of my favorite songs from the record. It's called Love Irresolute. So I'm super excited to talk to these guys all about everything that has to do with Ode to Humanity. But right now, let's get into their music video for Gutted. It's on Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast. Kevin and Chris, oh, the humanity. It is so great to talk to you guys. Finally, with the release of Ground to Dust, your new record. It's been out for a few months now, actually probably about the end of January, right?
Yep. Almost 3 months.
Yeah, it's I'll tell you what, man, it's, we're only 4 months into it, and I'm telling you, this is going to probably be on my top 10 albums of the year. It's an absolutely incredible record. I love what you guys are doing, and I know you guys have been around since 2012, but for some reason this is my entry album into you guys. I don't know why I haven't found you guys until now, but thank God I did. And stoked to finally talk to you about the record. And you know what, I'm going to start off speaking of the record. Hold on. I got the record right here.
In the flesh.
There it is.
In the flesh. Dude, it's so awesome. I got a vinyl fixation or addiction, you want to call it, over since the pandemic. So of course, any record that I love, I actually have to get. And I love Sell the Heart Records and Thousand Island Records, and it was a no-brainer. I'm like, okay, perfect, it makes sense, you know what I mean? So I want to get into, first I'm going to hit you with a hardball question. First off, what is this album? Where is this picture taken? Is this just something that you guys kind of created, or does this have any kind of meaning or anything?
So our friend Brittany is a photographer in the greater Boston area. She shoots live music and she's done artwork for a bunch of bands. And if you've seen any live photos of us in the last few years, she's probably shot it. And we've done illustrated covers for our last few releases, and with this one we decided to do something a little different. So Brittany hooked us up with a whole gallery of different spots she's shot, people, scenes, whatever, and this one kind of we all kind of gravitated towards. So it's an old rundown drive-in movie theater in like central Massachusetts that's since burned down.
Oh, is it really?
So that's
really?
like actually not there anymore. But yeah, we were able to incorporate a bunch of shots that she took from that location for the artwork. Yeah,
and it makes sense with Ground to Dust, as everything happens. And oh shit, hold on, I'm just dropping shit left and right. My bad. Very professional. So how's the response so far been? I mean, I know you guys have been around for a while, but with this new record, how's the turnout been? And as far as like shows and people that loving the new songs.
It's been awesome. We're reaching a lot of new people, which is what we had hoped going into it. But it's been amazing so far. I couldn't be happier, really. Sell the Heart and Thousand Island Engineer Records were like super easy to work with, and I think all those labels have little networks of folks who trust them, and like anything they put out, they'll at least like check out, if not get the record outright. And so we've seen a bunch of folks saying like, oh, I've had these other releases from Sell the Heart, so I checked yours out and I love it. Or, hey, everything that Thousand Island puts out, I check it out and, I got your record and I love it, that kind of stuff. And it's cool to see like those little networks of folks that are tied to a label. It's like something out of like the late 90s, early aughts, from like when I was in high school. It's cool to be a part of those communities. We have friends who have put out records on both those labels before, so it's also cool to be like kind of like in the mix with buds who have put out records on those labels too. And
then eventually going on tour together and all that kind of stuff, and crossing paths down the line and all that good stuff. And you know what, it also helps with Sell the Heart being out in California and Thousand Islands being in Canada and Engineers out being in the UK. You're hitting all the prime spots as far as distribution wise, and that, I'm sure that's helped out a lot. No?
Yeah, and especially with Canada, like we've had some folks that we've connected with over the years in Canada, but we've never had our records available up there. And then we did our first UK tour last year, so folks who checked us out on that tour or became aware of us through that trip were able to get their hands on the record, which is super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Now we just need to figure out how to get out west to California.
Yeah, is that the plan? You guys gonna plan on making some shows out there? Definitely, in the neck of the woods where Sell the Heart is, and pretty much all of California. You could pretty much go anywhere with the type of music you guys are playing, especially in that SoCal area. That's a really hot spot for the type of band that you guys are, right?
Yeah, we definitely want to. It's on the wish list. We've got a few spots that we definitely feel like we have to hit, and going out and visiting Andy and hitting the West Coast is on the short list for sure.
No, I saw you guys played back in March, which wasn't too very long ago, but you played the whole album in its entirety at a few shows. How'd that go over? How'd that feel? That's probably the first time you guys all played those live, right? All those songs. Was there a little nerve-wracking kind of thing, or had you sprinkled them in, as you guys created those songs?
We had played maybe half or 5 or 6 of them live, and then there were a few that we hadn't done live yet. And we definitely want to be able to play every song off of this album live. And we had that little run, like I think, like, was it 4 days? We had like a 4-day run, and we're like, all right, there's a handful of these songs that we haven't played yet. The easiest way to get them out there and road tested is just to play the whole record. It's not like a thing that we're planning on doing all year.
Sure.
And we've played a bunch of shows since then, and we haven't, but it was fun to kind of like, just kind of get it out of the way, have them all road tested and ready to go. And like,
sure.
I feel like songs reach like a new level of kind of like tightness once you play them out that you can't really get just by practicing them in the practice space. But yeah, so it was cool to get them out there and kind of like, get them kind of road tested a little bit. And now we'll be, kind of making our set list, kind of like whatever we feel like playing. But now all of those songs we feel like are like available that we could play on any given day.
Yeah, and that's really important, right? Because you don't want to play the same set over and over again, or just the hits, or whatever it is. You want to be able to sprinkle it around and get every song out there as much as you can. And having that road tested, early on is really great too, right? So you're not, playing shows of 3 months from now and you hadn't played like track 11 yet, and then you got to learn it on the fly, and then you screw it up 3 months. You just get it all out and get all the cobwebs off, and and just bang it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a little, like playing the song live for like the first time or the second time or something, you're like thinking more about it. A lot of times when we play, we're just like, songs that we've played before, we're not really, you don't really have to think about it if you played a song like, a ton. But yeah, so we were kind of had to like focus a little more, at least for the ones that we hadn't played yet. But I mean, now they're pretty much good to go. So.
What was the hardest one to really pull off, as far as like, being nervous about or wondering if you could pull it off on the first round? Some songs that really got to you, or maybe were they all simple for you because you had worked on them so long?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'll go first. I'll say it's just the order of the songs for me. So like, there's always like if there's something like really difficult I have to do, I like to front load it. So that's like, it's, the end of the set. It's like a little more cruise control. And there's some songs on the back of the record that like Siren Song with that chorus, like I go pretty high, like at the upper end of my register. I definitely would not save that for the second to last song if I was putting it in a normal set list.
Right.
But yeah, that was actually a cool one to play. We'd never played that one live before, and it went well. It was cool.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, is this Siren Song or the Counterculture? Like, is this like a kind of like a tribute to Red Cats? But probably not. But I was just like one of those, one of those things. But go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so I mean, the more like technical one, like Ground to Dust, like the last tune on the record, and Never Do Another Rule, and probably like Siren Song, those ones we hadn't really played much, at least. And they're a bit more technical, like a bit more like busy as far as like the guitar playing is concerned.
Yeah.
So the first couple times was kind of like, I was spending more time thinking about what was coming next than I would normally do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they all worked out. Like they all came out pretty good. So I feel good about playing any of them again.
Yeah, but it also is pretty cool if you really think about it. Like, the album is like really fresh. It's really new. Not a lot of people like know the songs where they're their heart. So even if you screw up, or like, that you screwed up, the people there aren't so used to it yet. So you can get out those bugs or screw up, and people won't even know what they are. You know what I mean? You just act like it's totally normal. And like, I'm sure you guys have your own little ways of looking at each other. Like, come on, man, screw that up again.
Yeah,
I know that's how you guys do it.
As long as you sell it, it's all good.
Yeah, that's half the performance, man. It's just selling it, dude.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Like, we played, even when we were making the record, we're still playing shows locally here and there. So it was nice to go to a show and be like, hey, if you're going to come to this show, you're going to see a bunch of stuff that you've never seen before, and you probably will never see this set again, especially for like playing at home on the third night. And then the Montreal show was awesome. Like, tons of people knowing the words to the new songs, and the Thousand Island crew came out deep for that show. It was very cool. It was very cool.
Yeah,
that's
that
awesome.
was awesome. Because we didn't really.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. We had never really played. We had only played Pooza Fest up there before. We had never done like a non-festival show up there, and to go up there and like play all the songs from the new record, and people like digging them and knowing the words and stuff, and we had no idea what to expect. We're like, are we going to be eating the room costs for this show or whatever? Because like we literally had no idea, and it worked out great. And we're going up there on tour again in a couple months, and we're doing Pooza again, and so that's like our new home now.
That's what I was going to ask you. Was that your first time in Canada at that one Pooza Fest, or had you guys been up there for other festivals and other kind of a big event things?
We had done Pooza once before, way back when we were a pretty new band in like 2015. We did Pooza once then, and we've been through Ontario at least once, maybe twice.
Oshawa, I think, was the name of the town we played.
Yeah, was it only the one time?
I think it was that one. Yeah, and then we did Pooza 2 years ago. But this was our first headlining show in Canada, and it was sweet. It was awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We live like not that, like we're in Massachusetts, not that far. I mean, I could drive to Montreal from where I'm sitting right now in like 5 hours, 4.5 hours.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's like a perfect place to be. You know what I mean? You're just a 5-hour drive. That's like from here to Tallahassee to me. But I mean, that's a weekend road trip. You can go out and take a Friday off and go play a whole bunch of shows in Canada and come back and kind of do that. Not a lot of people have that flexibility, be able to play two different countries. You know what I mean? So it's like, I know a lot of people want to get up there and do their thing. But yeah, it's one of those things. And where Pooza Fest this year is on May 17th, right? And I think it's mid-May, right?
Yep, that's right. That's the weekend.
Yeah, and Frank Turner's playing, Sam I Am, and Elway, Broadway Calls, Drug Church, a whole bunch of other killer bands, and even Voivod is playing, which I hadn't heard that name in forever. What's it like playing those shows when you have such a stacked bill? Is it just kind of a big kind of a camp, a camaraderie kind of a vibe to it, or is there a kind of a proving ground to being in the States and having to prove yourself and say, hey, we're from the States, don't judge us, or about our current ways of going, you know what I mean? Like how is it when you guys do those shows?
It's cool. I mean, I'll say, with the current state of things, we crossed the border for that March show, like right around when the first round of the tariff nonsense was going on. So there was a lot of how was the border crossing? Was that, like, it wasn't anyone like giving us, it was more people like checking, like, was everything cool? Did they and it was fine. But no, I mean, like the last time we played, like any festival, you're always up against a bunch of other cool bands, and there's always like the kind of like your slot is your slot or whatever. But the last time we played 2 years ago, we actually were on a Thousand Island showcase, even though we weren't a Thousand Island band at the time. So it was just like a bunch of bands that do like a similar thing that we do, and all the bands hung out and watched and supported, and it was a very cool vibe. And from my limited experience, it seems like that's just like how that crew rolls. It's like they all support each other and they all hang, and it's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it's been really cool to like when I've told this story before, but running Signal Chords and trying to discover bands, and from all across the US, all of Europe, Canada, all that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you what, I've discovered in the 4 years I've been running Signal Chords or whatever, there's so much punk like bands out there that pop punk, melodic punk, skate punk, like every genre of punk, ska, all that kind of stuff. I had no idea like how big it was or how spread out, the amount of bands are up there. And it's incredible. And there's a huge scene up there, and it's really cool to see that that the scene is still alive, and bands like yours and all those Canada bands as well, just carrying on the tradition of that punk rock that that we all loved and we all grew up on. So it's really cool to see that even across the globe, you have bands in Italy, bands in Spain, still playing that stuff, and it's really great, and it's good to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's cool, and it's cool that like no matter where you go, there's somebody who's doing some flavor of this thing that we enjoy doing. Like when we went to the UK last year, it was the same thing. Like we played a bunch of shows with bands we'd never met before and didn't really know what to expect. And some were more rock leaning, and some were more technical, and some were more pop leaning. But we're all doing the same. We're all doing the thing we love, right? And so like it doesn't really matter where you go. It's as long as you have like a good attitude and you're a good hang and you want to meet new people and do the thing. Yeah. It's a good time. I love it.
Yep. It must be so trippy to play like England or play, Europe for the first time, as an American, and then going over there and set up all your gear, and you're like, man, we're in freaking England, dude. We're playing in England. You know what I mean? Like
it was a dream, literal dream come true. Literal dream.
Yeah, right. I mean, it almost awesome. Has to be, right? You think about all the logistics that has to happen, right? You have to get a band, make songs, then you do that. That's a triumph within itself, right? A record and all that kind of stuff. You get it out there, and then you got to coordinate how to get over there, and find out all those answers. Then you finally get over there after all the hard work and all that kind of stuff. It's got to be that first show. When was your first show over in Europe? Do you remember?
It was I mean, that's the only time we've ever gone over there. It was in June was the first show, and the first show was in Oxford, right?
Oxford, yeah.
It was Oxford. Night. Yeah, it was like the basement of a pub. And
really,
I mean, it was like a pretty small room, but people were packing in. People were like, it's the kind of vibe where people are walking down the street and hear something going on, and like people were just coming in and like hanging out for the show. But yeah, it was cool. It was definitely a trip being over there and playing. And I was a little bummed because it was in Oxford and I wanted to go see J.R.R. Tolkien's grave, but I didn't have enough time to get over there. But
well, you will one of these days. You guys, something tells me you guys are going to be doing a lot of European dates very shortly. I could tell you that. If you guys don't have them already booked or in the works right now, but but you guys are doing some Canada shows as well in June. Are you touring with any U.S. bands, or are you just kind of linking up with some bands in Canada and playing shows there? And who are the bands that you're playing with?
Yeah, so it's just five dates of us, and then I think the first 3 shows we're playing with another Thousand Island band. Drop It First. They just put out their first full length. I think end of last year or beginning of this year. It's awesome. Anyone who's listening to this who likes us, check them out. They do a similar thing, and they do it really well. It's just like it's one of those things where we have been established in the States for a long time. We're from here, right? And we have like a built-in group of people who are like, we're lucky enough to have supporting us and to scoop up records. But with having Bruno and Thousand Island supporting us, we got to go up there and put the work in on the road up there too, that we've been slacking on, like we said earlier in the conversation. So we're looking forward to it. If these shows are anything like what we experienced in March, it's going to be like an unbelievable time. We're excited.
Yeah. Shout out to Bruno. He's good people. He's the best. He runs a tight ship over there at Thousand Islands, and we work together on a whole bunch of different videos and all that kind of stuff. Nice. Really cool dude. But no, I'm stoked for you guys, and I see that. And one last thing about shows and tours, I see that you guys are playing with a Wilhelm Scream. It's a hometown show at the end of June. So when you guys get back from Canada, you're gonna be playing with a Wilhelm Scream in your backyard. And how's that gonna happen?
Yeah, it's funny. They're heading up for a show up in Quebec as we're coming back from Quebec. I think they're going up to play a festival with Bigwig or whatever the next day or 2 days after or whatever. So we're just missing each other. We're stoked. It's like club in Lowell, Mass. So kind of outside of the normal like Boston area. But yeah, anytime we get to play with those guys is a dream. So yeah, we're unbelievably excited. And then our friends Little Low, whose new record is coming out in May, also on Sell the Heart and Thousand Island, is opening up that show. Awesome emo rock band from the greater Boston area too. Yeah, it's gonna be an awesome show. Can't wait.
No, that's really cool, especially when you can play it in your hometown and play with a band of that caliber with a Wilhelm Scream. You know, they've been around the block a few times and they're still doing it and killing it after all these years. You know, it's really cool. And you know, and that it kind of leads me into this record because, you know, I do recognize some of the maybe some of the influence in a Wilhelm Scream due to the technical, you know, kind of like that fast paced kind of almost math, you know, almost metal too as well. Like I hear like a lot of like metal influences, a lot of that speed kind of stuff, which is great and I love it, but it makes me focus on the lyrics so I can try to, you know, find the melodies and all that kind of stuff. And I love how riff-tastic you know, this record is, with, you know, without trying to be cheesy about that word there, but
thank you.
But I love it. I mean, it's full gauge, it's full, you know, balls of the wall kind of stuff. But then you do have some, you know, some more melodic songs as well on there too. And I love that intro. I love it when bands do that slow intro and that build up and then just goes right into it. And I love how you guys do that with Imposter Syndrome. Let's talk about some of the songs. Now you guys led off with Gutted, which was your first single off the record. Let's talk about Gutted. And you know, this is one of those songs where I wound up listening, you know, reading all the lyrics probably to 3/4 of the record until I had to go to bed because I'm old and I'm tired. But I read the lyrics and you know, this is a heavy song. You know, it's a real heavy song. Dark lyrics, and there's a lot of subject matter lyrically. What I want to ask you, Kevin, about, because you know, there's a lot of it's very clear. You know, your lyrics are clear; they're not kind of ambiguous. You know, it's kind of like straight in your face kind of a deal. And this is one of those songs where it's, you know, lyrically, it's right there and it hits you. Let's talk about Gutted and your thought process lyrically and musically.
Yeah, I'll say like a lot of my lyrics are on the nose, but they aren't necessarily literally what I'm thinking, right? Like often it's like a caricature of a feeling. And I tend to be someone who beats up on myself. It's who I've always been, and it's something that I continuously work on. But that song is like the that's it. Like if that you want to sum up a lot, like 3/4 of the songs that I've written for this band, like you could read the lyrics for that song and get the gist of it in one way or another. But yeah, it's, you know, it's sometimes it's cathartic for me to like put it all out there and really lay it out plainly. Like, hey, like, and that song is absolutely that. It's like, hey, listen, you're looking at yourself in the mirror and calling it what it is, whether that's reality or not reality, you know.
And when you go up, do you ever find yourself, should I say, just, you know, try not to get too personal with it, you know what I mean, to where it's like you want to make it, you know, relatable for everybody else, you know? Is there a point where you just you hold back, or do you just you know, just whatever comes to your mind, you know, lyrically, you know, that's how it is, that's how it's going to be kind of a deal? Or do you find yourself saying, okay, well, shit, that's too dark, or that's too light, or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I won't get too literal. Like there are songs that I've written about people, but you would never be able to know who the person I'm writing about is based on what I've written in the song, or I'll mask it with something else so that the situation that I'm singing about isn't as clear. Like there's a song on this record that's about a person who's super close to me, but there would be no way to parse that out based on the lyrics. So like that's as far as I'll go. Like I'll write about a situation or a struggle I'm having with a relationship or whatever, but I won't go into leading anyone towards like who that individual might be. Sure.
Yeah. And Chris, you know, as far as guitar work, I mean, it's incredible. You know, what you and your other guitar player, you know, James, in the band, what you guys do and how you guys, it's one of those things where it always, trying to find a good word for it. It always mystifies me, like how that, you know, technical, the two guitars come together, and they play. They're doing their own thing, kind of a deal, and how you guys sync everything up to make it sound really good and really on key and all that kind of stuff. How does your approach to guitar playing and what you want to accomplish in a song? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so for Gutted, we kind of wrote that in like a pretty classic, like me and Jim, the Jim kind of way. Like for this one, like I just had, I was just coming up with riffs, coming up with different parts, different ideas that go together. Like a couple of the riffs for this one, I was kind of trying to work out in a few different things, a few different ways. And what I like to do a lot of the time is once I get like a general like idea of riffs and parts and like a general idea of a sound, I like to bring it to either like the whole band or just to Jim. So like for this one particularly, I say we did it in kind of a classic way because I just had sort of like a riff salad kind of thing, a bunch of different loose ideas that weren't necessarily like, I knew they could be the same thing, same song, but they weren't the same song yet. And yeah, Jim's my buddy. We've been playing guitar together for like 20 years. And
so it's almost natural for you guys to just come, what he likes, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are, and vice versa, right? I would imagine.
For sure. Like I went over to his house with like some ideas and we just kind of like messed around with it, and like he helped me arrange it and like kind of threw some extra parts in there. And like I had the idea for like like out right after the first chorus in that song, there's like a little like kind of guitar break thing, and like I had an idea for that, and then Jim comes up with these like really cool melodies and like counterpoints to what I'm doing. And yeah, so like that came together in like kind of a classic way where I just had like 5 or 6 parts, brought it over to his house, and we just sat down and just kind of like geeked out over it for like 2 or 3 hours until we had more of like a cohesive idea. And even that intro, the intro is like kind of part of that song. We put it as a different track, but when we were writing it, it was kind of part of it because some of the chords are similar to some of the chords that I play in the the regular part of the song. And I mean, a lot of the stuff that goes over it, like it starts off with just some chords and then a couple other guitars come in. We kind of did a few different layers. I mean, a lot of that is stuff that Jim and I have just kind of jammed on like for years, like predating the band even, because I said, I mean, we've been friends forever. And even before this band, we would hang out and just kind of like jam on stuff and write stuff. And so a lot of what got worked into like that song in particular, at least the intro, is ideas that we've just kind of been messing with on and off for like literally years. Not even with the intention of like working it into a band, just kind of like that's what we do when we hang out, pick up some guitars and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't always come together that way, where it's like, sometimes I bring like a full idea to the table. Sometimes Jim brings a full idea to the table. Sometimes Kyle brings our bass player brings a full idea to the table. But the ones that I really vibe with the most are the ones where everyone's kind of like putting their own stamp on it.
Doing it. Yeah. And then Kevin, do you add your lyrics once they hammer out all the details? That's where the lyrics come in, and you just try to syncopate it with everything.
Yeah, like historically, we'll wait until the song is done, and then I'll put lyrics on top of it. This record in particular, we are trying to do a bit of a hybrid approach where the guys will have like the basic structure of the song and maybe like key lead lines that we think are going to stick. And I was trying to push myself to get involved earlier so that we could say, oh, that vocal melody is cool. Maybe Chris could do something that plays off of that, and like so that it feels more part of the song instead of like vocals on top of the rest of the band.
That's one thing we definitely we definitely focused on a lot this time we would demo the songs as early as we can. And that way we could kind of like add, like Kevin said, like add things to, like if he's got a vocal thing going on here, it's like, oh, can I throw in a little part that kind of like helps to accent that? or accentuate it, or just, sounds cool with it, in some way. So yeah, everything was very intentional on this record. Much more so than we had done in the past.
Yeah, I love the fact that you say that, and it definitely shows. I mean, I still have to go back to your back catalog. Like I said, this was the entry point for me. But it's one of those where you could tell it's like you're seasoned veterans. Like, listen to this. Like, this isn't a debut record kind of a deal. Like, you could tell that you guys are full force on the road, just hitting it at all levels. You know what I mean? And I think it all added up to one incredible record. It's like I said, it's gonna be one of my favorites. Of this year. Let's talk about upper riffatory. I can't even. Respiratory infection. I'm an idiot, and I've got glasses on. You would think I'd be able to read it because it's like the words are right here. You know what?
No, we're laughing because everyone who tries to read it goes through the same thing. You're not alone.
That's the one where we kept the working title for that one.
Yeah, it should just be URI. Just everybody acronyms everything. You know what I mean? Nowadays, everything's an acronym. But you know what? This song is epitome of a skate punk song. Like, when I listen to a skate punk song like this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I expect in a skate punk song. Let's talk about how this song came together, and and your thoughts on making this song.
Yeah, this one. So this one is one where I brought a much more complete idea to the table. It was a few winters ago. I kept getting sick. I missed practice for like a month straight because I got 2 upper respiratory infections in a row.
Oh, shit! Really?
And when I came back, I had like pretty much all the chords for the song worked out.
You had a lot of time on your hands. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just like, kind of sitting in the house, and like it just came together that way from being sick and not going to band practice. And yeah, I think it was our drummer Teeny suggested, it was like, oh, you had an upper respiratory, we should call it upper respiratory. But yeah, so yeah, it came together pretty easily because I had pretty much all the chords worked out before bringing it to practice. And I showed everyone kind of the general ideas, and by the end of the practice, we were like really, really killing it. There was extra stuff added in, like Jim threw in a bunch of like really cool guitar stuff, like a lot of noodly guitar stuff during the second verse and the and the bridge. And then like I remember lyrically, we demoed it, and Kevin texted me, and he's like, oh, I don't know what I should sing this about. I don't know what I should sing about in this song. And I think I was told him something like, oh, well, you don't have to take my suggestions, but I had this idea of like, it sucks having a really good memory because you remember all this shit that you should probably forget or you'd rather forget. Right. And like literally like a half an hour later, Kevin sent me a demo with like all of like the lyrics and all the melodies and stuff. And it was just like, that was easy. Next song.
So Kevin, how'd that go? How did you see it in your eyes when you heard it and what they were working on, and he gave you the subject matter, and how'd you turn it into gold?
Yeah, it's so I have this like Google Doc that is like 20 something pages long of like chunks of ideas, and so like I just kind of as I'm living my life, I just like spit out ideas and I'll refine them over time, and oftentimes it just takes like 1 or 2 lines, like just like a theme to click. And then I'm like,
Right.
oh, I've got stuff for this. And then once I have kind of like an idea of a structure and like what the, like melodically what we're doing, it needs to be pared down and edited and whatever. But yeah,
Sure.
it was like, oh, cool, I can take this idea and this idea and this idea. And then something we did differently on this record that we hadn't done on any other record, Chris alluded to it earlier, was we've never multi-track demoed in advance of recording and then done it again right before recording. So we had the opportunity this time to like demo that song, like demo the whole record front to back completely.
Yeah.
Think about it, listen to it. We went down to talk to Trev in advance of recording. He listened to it, gave some feedback, and then like spent, May to July before recording. I went back specifically with this song and like reworked an entire verse and then all the harmonies and extra stuff in the bridge in advance of recording. Just I built a little vocal booth is too fancy of a term. Chris calls it my coffin, but this tiny little like 4 foot by 4 foot box in my garage, and just kind of like record over and over again, just like wood shedding stuff, and it ended up turning out really cool. I love how that song came out. It might be my favorite song on the record, I think.
Yeah, it's that's so funny. Like and it's a great way to do it. I mean, who multi-tracks demos, and does all that kind of stuff. But it's so great to be able to sit on it and be able to take your time and do it and pan out everything and then just like listen to it as a whole. And so everybody could just add their little, well, maybe we did this and maybe we did that, instead of just hearing one riff and try to write lyrics behind it. You know what I mean? Like you can hear everything and the, what do you call it, little idiosyncrasies,
Oh yeah. And there's no surprises, right? Like we know exactly what we're trying to do. And we're so lucky that Kyle, our bass player, is an engineer by trade. So we can he can either bring a rig to the practice space or we can go into his basement and he can record everything and we can just listen to it and say, okay, is this it or is it not it? Does it need to be faster, slower? Do we need more stuff, less stuff? Like does something need to change? And it was a game changer for the writing process, I think, for this record for us.
Yeah, and so when with Kyle, being an engineer and all that kind of stuff, where if he's doing the multi-track and all that kind of stuff, who actually did the actual recording and of the record, and where'd you guys do that out of?
We recorded the record in New Bedford at Anchor End with Trevor Reilly from Wilhelm Scream.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep. So we went in there, and I mean he produced it. He gave us. I mean we had most of it demoed, but he gave us suggestions during the demoing process, like of how to go about doing the demoing process, how to get melodies to fit in with chord progressions, like all these really very like kind of like sage like pointers. And then and then we went down there, we blocked out I think 9 days, and we went in and did all the basics like the drums, rhythm guitars and things like that. And then we would just like kind of block off little weekends or little couple day blocks here and there over the next couple months to go in and like put all the guitar overdubs, vocal overdubs, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it was all tracked and mixed with Trev from Wilhelm down in New Bedford.
Yeah, and how's working with Trev, and how'd you get hooked up with him? Just by playing with them, and because they're from Massachusetts as well. I'm sure you guys run in the same circles and all that kind of stuff. Is that how you got that connection there as far as being able to record with him?
Yeah, I mean we'd been going to see Wilhelm, since way back in the day, and then I was chatting with him down at Fest. I got introduced to him. I'd seen him a bunch of times, and I've said what's up to them, and I think I had a shot with Nuno a couple times or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone introduced me to Trevor down at Fest, and we always kind of like would chat whenever I would see him at one of their shows, or he was even at a couple of our shows. Like we opened for Strung Out one time, and he ended up being there, and was chatting with him there. Yeah, so we always kind of like kept in touch a little bit. And I think what happened was I saw that he was building a studio when right around the time we were finishing up working on our last record. And I think I shot him a message over like some social media platform, and was just like, hey, I see you're building a studio. Like, what are your thoughts on like mixing, mastering, that kind of stuff, because we have this record we're working on. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I do mixing and stuff. I don't do mastering. My dad does all the mastering." He's like, "He's great.
Oh,
At it. You
really?
should hit him up." Yeah. So for
Yeah.
our last record, we actually, I messaged his dad, Joe Reilly, and he mastered our last record. And then I remember at the very end of him mastering, he sent a message like, "Oh, you should come down and check out my son Trevor's new studio in beautiful historic downtown New Bedford." He like sold it like that.
He's like a tour guide. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like the first
Yeah.
time, like a couple months later, we were going to see Wilhelm on like their first tour back after the COVID shutdown. And yeah, right. I walked up to him and I kind of like told him I had heard about the studio and I'd see him posting pictures and we'd love to come and record. He's like, "Yeah, man, come on down and check it out, you know, and let me know what you think." So we went down there, we sat there and like just talked about recording, like the philosophy behind songwriting, recording, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, we're like, all right, cool. So he wants to do it and we want to do it with him. And then Kyle ended up going on tour with Wilhelm as their sound guy like a couple months later. And yeah, so we just kind of had like yeah, so it just kind of came together like that. I mean, it's like Massachusetts thing, you know, like we do similar kind of stuff. We're not that far away. We've been to a million of their shows. And those guys are like personable, you know, they're out there. They go to shows that they're not playing at. They know people in the scene. They talk to people. So yeah, they're like super happy to work with like other bands from the area.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, you know, kind of that hometown kind of thing, you know. It's that, you know, there's a lot of bands that do that here in Florida as well, right? So like, you know, you have the Day to Remember comes here to Orlando, but there's a lot of bands, you know, like Trivium and all that kind of stuff. You have all these, you know, bands that, you know, will record even though they might not be the exact genre or whatnot, but it's that hometown is supporting, you know, the next up and coming kind of a deal, and it's really cool that, you know, seeing, you know, band guys actually having studios and being able to do it because they know what's going on. They know what buttons to press. They know, you know, how to produce a record. They know what they want to hear, you know, and how to kind of guide people. And that's really cool that you guys got in touch with him and him being able to do everything for you guys. That's really awesome, man. Really cool.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and we learned a lot, and we had a good time. We had a lot of fun in New Bedford.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, so do you guys live pretty much close to each other? Everybody in the band. I know you guys have been friends for, you know, quite some time. You know, it's hard, you know, over the years trying to stay around near each other, you know, with life and all that kind of stuff. Where are you guys, you know, as far as a band, you know, location wise? Are you guys relatively close where you can kind of come over? I'm working on a riff kind of a deal, or is it kind of one of those things where you have to make some time and do it?
It's like a little column A, little column B. Like Chris and Kyle live a town over from each other. Our drummer Chris lives in the greater Boston area, so about like half an hour south of those guys. Our guitarist Jim lives about 25 minutes north of them, and then I live about an hour west of those guys. So like, but where we all practice is roughly like a half-hour drive from everybody. So it's like,
that works out perfect.
It's close enough. And I'm only that far away is because you have to go north to go south to go north again from where I live to get to where they're, because there's no like good east-west highway to get from like where I am to where they are. But yeah, we're all reasonably close to each other.
Being pretty close definitely helps too, because there was like I live so close to Kyle. Slightly further, but I mean, when we were writing this record, we were both living in Salem of 17th century witch hysteria infamy.
Yes,
but you know, a lot of yeah, a lot of the tunes, like I'd be like, "Hey, you around? Yep. You mind if I come by for a couple hours and demo something?" And I'd come down, we'd demo. He'd like program some drums. I'd play a thing. We'd do, you know, kind of work it out, and all of a sudden we have something to show at practice, like a kind of cohesive thought. That's super helpful. And I mean, I was just up at Jim's like working on riffs like a couple days ago. I just drove up there after dinner one night, hung out for like 2 or 3 hours and drove back. But yeah, so it definitely helps to be close.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not, you know, bogged down by, you know, sharing files and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you guys do that too, but you know, with bands that bands that are so far away, because there's bands that I know that one's in Australia, the other one's in Spain, and they come together and they write a record. It's like I don't know how they do it, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, technology is great and you're able to do it and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you got to kind of like, still be in a room and feel it out. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. But I mean, everybody makes it work their own way, and more power to them. But it's all good. And you know what? You guys being from Massachusetts, Boston, that whole area. I mean, I'm sure there's no shortage of traffic and pain in the asses, things that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But you guys make it work, and that's awesome. Yeah. All right, so I want to talk to the last song I want to talk to you guys about, because it's one of my favorite songs off the record. It's called Love Irresolute. It is probably one of the catchiest songs on the record. This is a genuine hit in my book. It hits on every level, lyrically, musically, chorus wise, the catchiness of it. What do you guys think about this song? How'd the song come together and the thought process of this song? Because I personally, I don't care if anybody else wants to know about this song. I want to know about this song. So walk me through this song, if you could humor me.
Yeah, this song was a bit more of a process than some of the other ones, because I came up with the general idea for it like pretty early in the COVID days. Like, it was like a sitting on the couch alone at like 2:00 in the morning kind of situation. And I just had like an acoustic demo on my phone of just like these, big open chords, that's kind of what I was going for. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of different than what we normally do, but I like working in some of the different stuff. Yeah, and so it kind of lived on my phone in this like form. We didn't practice for like a year or a year and a half. I can't remember what it was. So it just, I just had it, and it took a little while to kind of get the feel for it when the band started working on it together. Like, eventually, like, this is one of those ones where eventually I went over to Kyle's house and we demoed it kind of in the way that I was thinking. And it started to come together from there. And sometimes when I'm coming up with parts, I know this is like a Kevin thing. I know Kevin is going to sing like a big awesome chorus over these big open chords. I mean, he does a great job at like the fast, like really kind of like in your face punk stuff, but he's a great singer and he comes up with great melodies. And so when I'm coming up with something like that, I'm just like, this like needs to have like this is like a canvas for Kevin to paint on. That's kind of like the way that's kind of like the way I think about it. And like, even like I try to think about that, Jim and Teeny and Kyle, everyone that way. Like, this is just like me with an acoustic guitar playing chords, and everyone else is going to like add their things to it. So it doesn't matter that it's just this basic idea. Once it goes through our like washing machine, it's going to be like an Ode to Humanity, like ripper,
Yeah. And I love
my way of looking at it.
No, it's perfect. I love the gang vocals on it. I mean, that chorus that just sucks you in. It like, you just want to sing. It's one of those songs where when I listen to it, I'm like, this is the song that everybody's going to be screaming back at you. It's one of those things where I could see like, it's going to mean something to somebody, you know what I mean? And, no matter walk of life kind of a deal, there's songs like that, when I see shows and, bands I've been listening to 20 years, and I want to hear that one song, and no matter how many Coors Lights I have or any of that kind of stuff, I know I'm going to be like screaming and reliving my childhood kind of a thing. And that's what I get from this song. I that's what I get from it. Kevin, if you could talk about like how you approached like the chorus and I know, like Chris said, it's a little bit more melodic than your normal the normal stuff, fast paced kind of stuff. Was it an adjustment, or did it come naturally?
Yeah, so I'm glad you like it. Thank you. That's really kind. So like we try, like, we have a couple of these in our catalog, and every time we get to one, it's both a lot of fun and definitely challenging to like change, to like rewire the way my brain is thinking about like how I'm trying to execute. But this one in particular, like I had the melody like kicking around in the back of my head for a bit. But like at the time, my daughter was 3 and we had a puppy in the house, and I had no time to like set up the computer, set up my mic, take the time to like warm up and demo it. So the first demo I did for the guys, I remember it was like a Saturday afternoon. I asked my wife, I'm like, can you guys go and like get breakfast or something? Like I need to get this idea down, because it's gonna it's gonna leave my brain, or I'm gonna change my mind or whatever. So I can remember like frantically setting everything up and like doing a very rough and not very well sung demo. And I remember the guys being like, yes, we're going to figure this out. Like this is the path. Like we now have a path, like this being what the song is going to be. And it was like a huge relief, because from there, it's like, you just work it out over time, right? Like we'll figure it out at practice. We'll like slowly improve it or whatever. But I remember like the frantic, like I need to get this recorded and demoed so I can show it to the guys. We can decide like if this is going to be it or if it's going to be something.
Just give me 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes, and then you got everything else.
Home was beautiful, but also like super hectic at the time. But it felt good to like get the like idea locked in, and then figure everything else out from there. I'm sharing too much too soon. More than you ever wanted to know. I can't swallow what I think. Chase it down with my next last drink. Spit it out and drag it home with me. My mind is full, heart's empty so fast. When the ripped wide open, split apart in two. Stop making me beg you to tell the truth. The weight of silence turning love irresolute.
No, that's awesome. It's so funny because I'm the same way, trying to do a podcast, and at like 8:00 is my kid's bedtime, and I'm like, I can hear him in the background. I'm like, please go to bed, or if there's something like, I just ate 5 minutes, Ma, the meatloaf, kind of like, just like yelling but I get those, rare times where you just need to knock something out, and you're like, please just, handle it, and so I can get this done, and all that kind of stuff. All right. So I want to talk about your favorite song, Kevin and Chris, from the new record. Personally, I'm going to, I'm going to call your baby out. Which one's your favorite child? And, performance wise or recording wise, it doesn't matter. You can do either or.
Yeah, I'll say the one I like listening to the most is Upper Riffs, probably. When before we had released the record, that was the song I would go, because like before it's out in the world and no one else has heard it yet, there's like a certain amount of, even though I've worked a ton on it, I've heard the song a million times, there's still like the excitement of like, oh, people are going to hear this soon. And that was the song I like had on repeat. I think we've been playing Ground to Dust, the title track, a bunch live, and I didn't know if that was going to be one that I was going to enjoy playing as much as I did, but I've really fallen in love with that song. I mean, I like all the songs on the record, but that was the one that kind of had to earn it, I think, because it was like, it is such like it's a beast, right? It's a beast of a song, and it's cool to end a record that way, and I think it sits really well in the record. But like, if I wasn't sure how it was going to translate live, or if I was going to enjoy playing it live, but like, that one's grown on me a ton. I think that's now one of my favorites.
That's awesome when a song. That's awesome when a song can do that, right? So it's like you don't want to put it on the shelf, but at the same time, it grows on you, and that's really cool. All right, Chris, you're up. Hot seat.
Oh man, it's tough. Love Irresolute is a big one, just because of the reasons I already said about how long it took, and like how how long it took for it to come together, and how satisfying it was when it finally did. I'll throw another out there. Never Do Another Rule is like, that's a great one, because That's like a classic Jim like ripper. It's like super technical. It's got like the Eddie Van Halen solo in it with like the whammy bar stuff. And I just love the way that that the chorus came out. I mean, it's a really technical song, but I kind of think like my favorite part of it is the way the chorus sounds, with like the vocal, like the woes in the back, and then like the kind of like aggressive voice out front. So I'll toss that one out there too.
Okay. All right. No, you know what? And it's funny that you say the aggressive vocals, because I love the fact that you guys don't overuse them, but you use them to a point. You know what I mean? Like it's really cool to to hear it, and it surprises you every so often, right? It's like one of those things where you're not like just singing and then it's the hard vocals and the singing and the hard vocals. You know what I mean? It accentuates the song more than it is a dominant part of your music, and that's what that was my last other note that I wanted to put down there on the record.
Cool. I'm glad you dig it. Yeah, it's fun to use that as a tool when needed, or when we feel like it makes sense. There's a couple of times on the record, like the Bridge of Circumstances, the last song on the A side, where Kyle just like, it was totally brutal scream, and Chris and I were in the studio with him while he was doing it, and like it got to this like unhinged kind of point when he's holding that super long note during that scream, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna sound so sick. And Trev like bumped it up in the mix, and I was like, oh man, this sounds so good. And it's something I can't do. I have no ability to scream that way, so it's like so cool to have someone else to be like, hey, this needs this, and then like Kyle can just go and like execute. Like it sounds so sick.
It's like having a fun new toy to play with.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, because Kyle's new, and he's definitely bringing the his own flair to it, and I think that the future for Oh the Humanity is bright, man. With everything that you guys got, and you know what, I really appreciate you guys doing the podcast and sitting down with me and talking to me about the new record and all that kind of stuff. Good luck on your tour, your shows in Canada. Good luck at Posa Fest and all that good stuff. So you guys get back in June. What do you guys got planned for the rest of the summer? Are you still trying to figure that out right now, or what's the status with when you come back in June?
Yeah, we've got a couple things that we can't talk about yet, and then we're kind of figuring out if we're gonna visit the Midwest or wherever. We might do a couple more
Florida,
little
sorry,
stints.
say that again? Florida, what did you say?
We'll see.
Yeah.
But we definitely we're going to hit the West Coast at some point, likely 2026. And we'd love to either make it back to the UK or mainland Europe next year too. But yeah, we've got a couple of fun things for the end of 2025.
Awesome. Well, Chris, Kevin, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Like I said, really appreciate it. Best of luck to you guys, and we'll keep jamming the record, man. Love it.
Thanks, Brad. This was awesome. Thank you very much. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, see you.